My wife, a 37-year-old woman, started a new job 4.5 months ago and made some new friends. I, a 36-year-old man, didn't like her new friends much. They were strong feminists, often seeing themselves as wounded persons and being very socially conscious. They were the kind of women who'd get upset whether you held the door open for them or didn't. It felt like a lose-lose situation. At first, I didn't take it seriously, but over the past 2 months, I noticed troubling changes in my wife's behavior. We've been married for 11 years and have 2 children, a 10-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy. Things got progressively worse. She began accusing me of various things like being inherently evil due to the historical oppression of women by men. It was absurd. I tried to stay patient, but these arguments often ended with me saying something like, "I haven't done anything wrong to you. The only thing I'm guilty of is loving you." It usually left her quiet, but the next day she'd start the same arguments with different points. Around 5 weeks ago, I had a strong gut feeling that something was seriously wrong. She started coming home late without letting me know, and I couldn't reach her on the phone. She would be distant and cold even when sober. The next day, she'd dismiss my concerns, accusing me of being controlling and reading too much into things. This happened a few times. I tried to check her phone but couldn't find concrete evidence, although I suspected she'd deleted many messages. I found a conversation with one of her new friends discussing the idea of an open relationship, which confirmed my suspicions of her cheating. My wife said she wanted to discuss this on the second Monday of December with the kids at their grandparents' for Christmas. We were supposed to join them later, so she brought up the topic over breakfast as if it were a sudden thought, asking about my thoughts on an open relationship. Fortunately, I was prepared. I'd been reading on Reddit and knew there was no saving this marriage. My best outcome was to protect myself and our children. From here on, it was about self-preservation and safeguarding the kids. I didn't raise my voice, I just asked direct questions. She'd been confident, until she saw the seriousness on my face. Me, who is he? She, what do you mean? Me, don't play dumb. If you want to talk honestly, let's do it. If you can't be honest, what's the point? She, what do you mean me? Me, if you lie, we can't have this conversation about our relationship. I can tell you're hiding something, so who's the guy you're involved with? She, I'm not. Me, don't lie. You've shattered my trust. Be honest or we divorce. No arguments, just divorce. Do you understand? She, I understand. She confessed to 2 one-night stands with married men and then revealed she planned to sleep with a colleague from work. She believed it was best for her, and I had no right to control her. I asked about the colleague and got his name and his wife's name. She claimed their relationship was open. She also suggested setting me up with her friends, one of whom was eager. I declined, and I asked for her phone, which she showed me how to unlock. While she was in the bathroom, I locked myself in my office, which panicked her. I used recovery software to find deleted messages and installed a spy app online. When I came out, I gave her the phone and told her to leave. She argued, but I responded with single-word answers. She showed no remorse. Throughout this, she yelled that I was controlling, perpetuating the historical oppression of women, and not truly loving her. The friends reassured her, saying I wouldn't go through with any threats. One of them shared a story of how she had manipulated her ex-husband using such accusations. I've ordered cameras from my house. Now I know I need to record everything. I couldn't believe what I witnessed. I've never threatened her in any way. After that, she started messaging her affair partner to meet up, and they agreed to meet at a hotel, which left me shocked. I went online to find the AP's wife, and it didn't take long. I reached out to her on Facebook and shared all the details, including what was happening at the hotel. She thanked me and hung up. A few hours later, I received a video from her. She went to the motel and confronted them, yelling. This wasn't the first time her husband had cheated, and she expressed her anger. She recorded my wife getting dressed on the bed, which made me feel sick. The AP's wife even slapped and cursed at my wife. I messaged my wife, telling her I had seen the video and never wanted her near me again. It seems she views our situation as some kind of competition where she believes she's winning. It's hard to understand. It's as if she's disconnected from reality and doesn't realize we're getting a divorce. I joined my wife's family WhatsApp group and informed them about our divorce due to her infidelity. I thanked them for welcoming me into the family and then left the group. I've received calls and messages from her, but I haven't read or responded to them. I just don't have the energy for it. I talked to my parents and shared everything with them. My father messaged my wife that she wouldn't be welcome for Christmas. I'm at my parents' place now and have spoken to my boss, who granted me time off until mid-January to sort things out. I've been monitoring my wife's conversations with her new friends, which have become increasingly frantic. I don't think it has fully dawned on her that she's lost her family, and her new friends and the AP don't truly care about her. She has sent me numerous messages and even showed up at my parents' house demanding to celebrate Christmas with us. My father threatened to call the police if she didn't leave. Now I'm searching for divorce lawyers and shedding tears. The pain hit me hard once I arrived at my parents' house. It's all so confusing. Reading their chats and interacting with her brings me immense pain. I've only responded to her messages twice. Me. It doesn't matter what you say, I don't know who you are. You are not my wife. My wife would never break my heart and soul while smiling. We're getting a divorce, and I don't care about your words or demands. You have no influence or right to ask anything of me. We're done. You, whoever you are, seem proud of what you've done. Her messages stopped after that last one. The pain is sometimes unbearable. I wish this never happened. I wish I could go back to how things were before, but I can't do that to myself. This is the worst Christmas ever. I couldn't help but explain to the kids that Mommy doesn't want to be part of the family anymore, and she wants to be with other men. We're getting a divorce, and they're naturally upset. Thankfully, my mom and dad are here to comfort them while I'm falling apart. I'll try to get back on my feet for the sake of my kids, but I'll never go back to her. I wish I had waited until after Christmas to get them into counseling. I blurted it out when they asked about when their mother would come. I could never forgive myself if I went back to her. The level of disrespect and heartlessness in her behavior is unforgivable. I'm lost and can't understand why she expects anything from me at this point. Is she mentally ill or something? I apologize for the rambling. I just needed to get this off my chest. What ultimately got to me was when my soon-to-be ex-wife used harsh language to describe how our marriage, and particularly our children, were a burden in her life. She claimed they held her back from being a successful woman who could reach her full potential. She also blamed me, her husband, for oppressing her and preventing her from having a good life. She even said that her family was the reason she didn't have a successful career and had missed out on casual experiences. It was too much for me to handle. For the next roughly 30 hours, I kept reading and rereading all the emails and chats we'd had. Upon reflection, I realized she didn't provide any specific examples of how we were supposedly burdens or oppressors. It was all broad statements without any supporting arguments or instances. In reality, I had never stopped her from pursuing anything. I financially supported almost everything, as her part-time job's minimum wage wouldn't cover much. I had also supported her hobbies, dreams, and aspirations. Even when she took classes and quit them halfway through, I made sure to express my love for her daily and appreciate her contributions to the family. I'd take her out and be there for her whenever she needed me. If this is oppression, then I'd like to experience it, please. But I digress. At some point while reading, I just passed out. When I woke up, my 3 best friends were in the kitchen with my dad preparing dinner. I've known these guys since childhood. Let's call them Mike, Bob, and Frank. My dad had briefed them on the situation. I broke down again, and I was in a daze until Friday evening. Mike is a military veteran who lost his left arm below the elbow. We supported him during his recovery when his wife left him. Fortunately, they didn't have any children, and Mike later adopted 2 kids and found a wonderful girlfriend. He set up a Zoom call with his counselor who helped him during his recovery. His insights into my emotional state, even though he specialized in helping amputees, were incredibly helpful. He explained that a significant part of my identity and spiritual self was tied to my role as a husband, and now that part was dead. Similar to an amputee experiencing phantom pain in a missing limb, I would feel phantom pain from the dead part of my identity. We had extensive conversations, and I've been gradually improving since. Bob is an executive at a security company, but he's secretive about his job. I don't know what he does, but he's quite wealthy. Bob contacted a law firm connected to his company, and on Sunday morning I talked to a lawyer I could never afford on my own. Bob, who had been bullied a lot in his youth, assured me not to worry about the legal bill. He would cover it. He was glad to finally repay me for standing up for him when he was bullied. Frank is a teacher at a private school and has 7 children. Yes, you read that right. 7. My kids adore him and his family. Frank has been ensuring my kids are well taken care of while I regain my footing and get everything in order. Yesterday was a very eventful day. It began with an early morning STD screening, which revealed that I had contracted chlamydia from my soon-to-be ex-wife. I'll need another screening in 6 months. My self-pity turned into pure anger upon learning this. I've decided it's time to go all out for full custody and to provide her with nothing if I can manage it. My lawyer managed to locate the ex-husband of my wife's feminist friend who bragged about how she had deceived him. It turned out to be relatively easy through court documents. Talking to him on WhatsApp, he expressed his gratitude and shared the horrors he had endured because of this woman. Now I have a better idea of what to expect from my soon-to-be ex-wife. It was sickening to hear about the experiences he had been through. I'm now ready for a battle after our conversation, preparing for a legal war. I was deeply saddened by his story, as he had been homeless and hadn't seen his kids for 4 years due to his ex-wife's lies. I understand that I'm at a disadvantage as a man in the court system, so I'll ensure I have a mountain of evidence. My lawyer suggested a preemptive move with a restraining order, given her negative and aggressive comments about males in general, especially for the sake of our son. Growing up in a household with a parent openly hostile toward males is undeniably damaging, which is why I'm pursuing full custody. I've informed my lawyer to proceed, and she's expecting to serve the restraining order. Today, I had a Zoom call with my soon-to-be ex-wife. Keep in mind that she hasn't reached out to me or anyone since the argument at my dad's house. It's clear she doesn't care about any of us. The call was incredibly strange. She had dolled up with a revealing outfit, trying to look her absolute best. I haven't seen her make such an effort in years. Throughout our conversation, she attempted to provoke me into an argument, but I managed to stay composed. My lawyer had given me guidance on what to discuss. It's considered positive if both parties make an effort for an amicable divorce before going for a contested one. I was recording the conversation, and I even referred to her as my soon-to-be ex-wife, which she lived up to. She started with a bizarre statement about different types of male anatomy, discussing how they change when erect or not. I couldn't believe she began a conversation with such a topic. Then she mentioned her excitement about the end of current restrictions to explore this further in person. I responded by saying I wasn't interested in her hobbies and that I wanted to focus on our divorce. Her hostility became evident when I didn't react as she had hoped. At one point, she claimed to be going to the bathroom and muted herself. I observed as she discussed what to do with me with her friends, cursing me solely because I'm a man. Several times during the call, I had a strange feeling that she treated this as a game, where she was in control and I had no choice but to go along with whatever she wanted. We made no progress on our divorce, so I concluded that we were heading for a contested divorce. By the way, I contracted chlamydia from you, and unlike you, I haven't been involved with anyone else. You should get yourself to a clinic. She frowned at me, not believing my words. I have no idea what's going on with her, and at this point, I no longer care. I shared the recording with my lawyer, and she was quite surprised. Everyone thinks my wife's behavior is irrational, and perhaps it is. Since I own her phone in the subscription, I can use the chat logs in court. It's entirely legal for me to monitor my own device. After our call, there was a frantic discussion among her friends, but I no longer care about what they discuss. My lawyer is confident that we'll win this case unless there's something I haven't disclosed. So here we are. It still hurts, but I can see it as phantom pain. I've stopped feeling sorry for myself, and I'm now taking a proactive approach. No holds barred. I need to protect myself and my kids. I'm confident that my kids will be fine, and I'll ensure they get therapy as needed. My soon-to-be ex-wife will soon be a distant memory, and I'll start building a new and better life. Today I found out that she was aware of the chlamydia infection and received treatment, but didn't inform me. It's quite frustrating. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for their feedback. Some people see me as strong or somehow winning in this situation, but I can see that my anger shines through when I may seem defiant and confident. The truth is, I'm not. I wish this had never happened. I wish my family was still intact, and I had a simple, comfortable life ahead with my wife. No one is a winner here as the kids grow and begin their own lives. My wife's behavior has left me no choice, and there's no turning back at this point. I desperately wish this situation hadn't been necessary. I can never trust her again, and every night I cry myself to sleep, both for my own loss and the fact that my children will grow up in a broken home. It's also heartbreaking that my children no longer have a functional relationship with their mother. How do you answer a child's question like, "Why doesn't mommy want to see me anymore? Doesn't she love me?" If anyone has an answer, please let me know, because I certainly don't. Every day I wake up and tell myself that my heart is already broken into so many pieces that it can't possibly break any further, only to be proven wrong daily. My wife still doesn't know that I can monitor her communications, or she doesn't care. She is 100% convinced that I will never leave her, and that my reaction to her behavior is entirely unjustified. She continues to speak negatively about me, our marriage, and our children to her friends. I don't understand why she despises us so much. We haven't done any of the things she accuses us of doing to her friends. As I mentioned earlier, my lawyer obtained a temporary restraining order against her. There was a hearing yesterday morning, and since there were no new direct threats, it wasn't extended. My lawyer suggested using her knowingly infecting me with chlamydia as leverage to try to negotiate an uncontested divorce. I wish we could part ways through a reasonable process. I hate that I have to see her as an adversary and anticipate the worst possible outcome. If she wanted to leave me, I would have been able to accept it. Why is she pushing me into this highly adversarial process? Why does she seem determined to cause as much misuse as possible to the people who once cared about her? What could she possibly gain from all this? I would appreciate any insights into this, as it just doesn't make sense to me. If we end up in court, I might have to pay her a lump sum for our house's equity, but I probably won't be responsible for alimony. Since she doesn't show any interest in the kids, I'm hopeful about winning custody if it goes to court. My lawyer suggested we try to achieve an amicable divorce, and I agreed. We plan to meet with my soon-to-be ex-wife and her representative, hopefully this week. The ex-husband who was deceived by the dishonest person spent New Year's Eve with me and the kids. The injustice within the justice system against fathers is simply unbelievable. I no longer have any illusions about receiving a fair process if we go to court. His ex lied extensively, and the court took her word as fact without any evidence. She has barely seen his children since. He's been forced to pay unreasonable amounts of alimony and child support, which has taken a toll on him. He even considered ending his life. With the new evidence he received from me, he now has renewed hope. We both discussed it with my lawyer, and she recommended that he hold on to the evidence until the meeting with my wife and her counsel. If he takes action now, it will reveal that we have access to their communications. My lawyer's primary goal is to facilitate our divorce as quickly and smoothly as possible. Right now, I simply hope I can distance myself from my soon-to-be ex-wife. If she decides to fight, it could drag on for a long time, and it's causing me a lot of stress. I just need to break free. Unfortunately, the bizarre situation continues. The meeting with my lawyer and my soon-to-be ex-wife took place yesterday afternoon, but she arrived 30 minutes late. And surprisingly, she didn't bring a lawyer and insisted she didn't have or need one. Instead, she brought one of her new acquaintances. My lawyer had given me strict instructions on how to conduct myself, emphasizing that I should avoid negative reactions. If they addressed me, I was to respond non-confrontationally or positively if possible. When my lawyer placed her hands flat on the table, I had to remain silent. However, they arrived late without wearing masks, and the harpy attempted to insult and provoke me in various ways, followed by my soon-to-be ex-wife joining in. My lawyer tried to steer the conversation towards our divorce, but they continued with their jokes and laughter, often aimed at me. It was cringeworthy to witness. It's clear now that my wife still believes this is all a ploy, thinking there's no way I can divorce her. In her mind, only she can initiate a divorce, and she assumes she'll get everything she wants. I was left wondering what on earth was happening. I refrained from saying anything substantial and only responded a few times with non-committal statements like, "Yes, you're probably right," or "I really don't know." Finally, they seemed to lose their steam. My lawyer presented the proposed settlement for an amicable divorce, mentioning my willingness to be generous for a quick and peaceful resolution, including a substantial lump sum for equity in the house and investments. My soon-to-be ex-wife couldn't contain her excitement, and her harpy friend encouraged her. They were eager to sign immediately. My lawyer, on the other hand, repeatedly suggested going over the rest of the agreement, but my soon-to-be ex-wife was adamant about signing right away, even discussing when she'd receive the money and their plans for the pub. My lawyer made a call, and a notary arrived, asking for our identification documents. We signed 2 copies, and the notary stamped them. My lawyer, almost figuratively standing on her head with the excitement, thanked my soon-to-be ex-wife and her friend and informed them that we were done. They left, and my wife even forgot her copy of the agreement on the table. My lawyer signaled with flat hands not to say anything while they were in the building. Once we saw them leaving the parking lot, my lawyer congratulated me. She went on to describe how this had been the most peculiar session she had ever experienced for a negotiated divorce. She explained that my soon-to-be ex-wife's copy of the agreement would be sent to her after we had a hearing in front of the judge, or if she hired a lawyer who requested it. Until then, it would remain forgotten in my lawyer's drawer. So it seems, on the surface, that my divorce will be less challenging than initially anticipated. However, my soon-to-be ex-wife can still retain legal representation and contest it. My lawyer assured me she would do her best to expedite a hearing with a judge. It would likely be a video call. I also hired a private investigator after receiving advice on Reddit. He provided photos of my wife kissing 2 different men at different bars and going to a hotel with one of them. I have accumulated substantial evidence, and I hope it will suffice if needed. My wife signed to grant me full custody with a one-time payment and no spousal support. I just need to figure out the finances. I have a plan, and Bob offered to fund the entire amount if necessary. My lawyer advised me to keep a low profile, continue paying for everything as usual, and avoid stirring the plant in any way. I'm advised not to communicate with anyone we both know and to remain patient until the hearing. Yesterday was the hearing, and I'm essentially divorced. It will take 4 to 6 months for the paperwork to be officially processed, but the outcome is unlikely to change at this point. The only option for a reversal would be if both my wife and I decided to halt the process. I'm utterly exhausted and haven't slept in days. Please forgive me if I seem a bit scattered. I need to get this off my chest. Maybe I can finally get some sleep after sharing it. My exceptional lawyer secured an early hearing just 12 days after we filed the paperwork, fully by pulling some strings. But let me stay focused on the recent events. From the weekend up until today, it's been chaos. On Friday morning, a group of police officers arrived at my doorstep with a search warrant for my house. I was bewildered and concerned for the kids, so I asked if I could take them outside while they conducted their search, which they agreed to. They didn't provide many details, but I managed to obtain a copy of the warrant. I was quite shaken and couldn't make much sense of it. It appears that the suspicions about my ex-wife's behavior being medication-related are partially correct. The police officers ended up ransacking my house. I contacted my lawyer and she spoke to them, but since the warrant was valid, there was little we could do. It didn't occur to me then, but now I have surveillance cameras installed everywhere to protect against potential false accusations. I have video and audio recordings of everything. If I choose to, I might be able to file a claim later. However, I'm not sure if I have the energy or willingness to do so. Perhaps I'll put it behind me and move on. I didn't know at the time, but my ex and her 3 friends drove my car while intoxicated and crashed into a house at high speed. They were all arrested, all found to be intoxicated, and they had various medications in and on their bodies. They suffered injuries in the crash, with the passenger in critical condition, and there are doubts about her survival. The lead friend, whom I'll call Henrietta, is the one who bragged about deceiving her ex-husband, Jack. Jack and I have become good friends, and I'll get back to him. Fortunately, the police didn't find anything during their search. I provided a statement indicating that my ex no longer resides at my house. She lives with her parents. I'm uncertain about her current activities. No, I didn't give Henrietta permission to use my car. Upon returning to my house, I broke down. It was utterly devastated, and in disarray, it was the final straw. The only thought that crossed my mind was to call my dad, who brought me and the kids to stay with my mom. My dad rallied a group of 26 friends and family members who cleaned and repaired my entire house while I sat on the back porch, emotionally drained, consuming my mom's comforting food. They restored everything, from every room to clothes, dishes, furniture, even addressing minor issues like loose door handles. It's now the cleanest it has ever been. They went above and beyond for me, and I'm not sure how I can ever repay their kindness. Over the weekend, I shifted from despair to feeling much better, thanks to them. The cops discovered more medication at Henrietta's house where her boyfriend wasn't present. There was no babysitter either, just the kids left unattended. In protective services, CPS intervened, and Jack won temporary emergency custody on Saturday. He presented chat logs to the judge, along with evidence of abandonment and an excessive amount of medications, leading to him gaining custody without much difficulty. Jack is ecstatic. He had seen very little of his children over the past 5 years. He had been raising funds to fight Henrietta in court when this situation unfolded. To make the custody permanent, he still has to go through a court process. But the children are in good hands at this point. Many believe that Henrietta will face significant jail time if her critically injured friend doesn't survive. Afterward, Jack plans to pursue child support and compensation for Henrietta's actions, although he isn't overly optimistic about the latter. He mainly wants to be with his kids and ensure they have a good life, as it's evident that Henrietta has been negligent in caring for them. Bob has been supportive and found a rental apartment for Jack through a friend. I've realized that I know very little about Bob's personal and professional life, and I intend to rectify that. But let me get back on track. Henrietta was driving when they veered off the road and crashed into a house. They were all injured, and search warrants for drink and medication were issued for everyone in the vehicle. This is still registered at my house, and on Sunday I decided that I'm selling the house and moving away as soon as possible. I fear a similar incident could occur again. Last Sunday, her parents called me. They told me that their house was searched as well. They had visited their daughter in jail on Saturday, and they no longer trust anything she tells them. To cut a long story short, they came over to talk on Sunday, and it turns out she has been lying to them about everything. She has been going out to party and cheating on me, despite telling her parents that she was staying with me to work things out. Her parents were unaware of what was really happening, thinking her cheating was just a one-time mistake. That's pretty much what she told them. On Monday, my wife called me to ask for bail money, which was $15,000. Her parents had already refused to help. After consulting with my lawyer, she drew up an agreement that the bail amount would be deducted from the final settlement, with her mother as the custodian of the remaining money. My lawyer wanted to ensure my wife had no excuse for missing the court hearing, so my ex didn't have much choice and signed the agreement. She was released on Monday afternoon. According to her parents, she didn't comply with their conditions for her to continue living with them, which included stopping medication, committing to rehab, being open about her activities, and dropping her bad friends. She apparently left their house on Tuesday to stay with some new friends. She also missed the court hearing, and I was awarded full custody. The settlement was based on our agreement and was completed in just 30 minutes. It'll take 4 to 6 months for all the paperwork to be processed, but in reality, it's a done deal. There's not much that can be done to change it. Now, let's fast forward to today. I couldn't sleep. Everyone congratulated me as if I had won a major victory, but it doesn't feel that way at all. I still love my wife even though I know our relationship is over. She used to be my best friend and soulmate until recently. Even though my love for her has been severely damaged, it's still there and it hurts a lot. There are no winners here. I lose, my wife loses, and my kids lose. It's hard to find the right words. It's like being asked to celebrate after losing both of my legs. People congratulate me as if I've saved half a kneecap while losing both legs. So I can't sleep. And when I do, I'm plagued by terrible nightmares that wake me up covered in sweat. I'm venting a bit here. Apologies for that. Anyway, today I got a call from the hospital that my ex is hospitalized. I'm still her emergency contact, and she's still on my health insurance. There was an incident, and she lost some teeth, broke her jaw, and will need to stay under observation for a few days. I brought her parents to the hospital, and it turns out some of her new friends had severely beaten her up. The reason was that they believed my wife had shared chat logs from her phone with a guy named Jack, exposing her actions. They assumed she had given the logs to Jack, which led to the beating. She still doesn't realize that I can monitor her phone. I'll continue supporting her financially until I have the legal papers in my hand. I just can't believe it until I see it. Right now, she has nothing. She asked if she could move back home, but I firmly said no. Her mother won't give her a penny unless she gets clean and stays clean for at least a year. They offered her a place to live under strict conditions, and if she doesn't accept, I don't see how she'll manage. For the first time, I saw a hint of regret in her since this all began. but I doubt it's genuine. She hardly looked me in the eye during our meeting. It pained me to see her like this, and I felt the urge to protect her. But she's an adult. Her behavior is dangerous, and I need to protect my kids. She didn't ask about the court hearing or her injured friend's condition. She seemed annoyed and disconnected. I still can't understand her actions. She has lost everything, destroyed her family, and caused pain for many people, all for a fleeting, high, and casual closeness. I'll maintain no contact with her until she's been clean for a substantial period. I can't handle all this chaos. I'm feeling somewhat depressed and extremely tired. I hardly get any sleep. And when I do, I'm plagued by nightmares. The good news is that the kids are doing better. My dad has been a huge help, and I can't imagine what I'd do without him. We went to his cabin this weekend for some skiing with the kids. It was a great break. I have minimal contact with my ex. I did have a conversation with one of her friends, the one who was in critical condition. She's awake now, but in bad shape. Her nurse told me that no one had visited her during her stay. Her family even refused to see her when contacted. I'm concerned that the people who attacked my ex might come after me and the kids. So I asked the nurse if I could speak to her, and she agreed. I know I probably shouldn't, but I felt the need to ask her about what had happened since my wife got involved with them. She started by asking if I wanted a closeness favor for $1.20, which was quite awkward. I offered her $1.50 in exchange for information. My wife's new friends are all heavy medicament users. Henrietta convinced my wife to try medicaments and party with them, selling closeness favors to fund their weakness. Henrietta was the ringleader in this group. They preached feminist ideals, but as she put it, it's all a facade to protect their egos. In reality, they're selling themselves for medicament money. My wife got caught up in this lifestyle and soon started selling closeness to support her own medicament habit. It's tough to hear that the person I loved had turned to this to feed her weakness. It explains why money seemed to be her top priority. Now, based on what she's told me, it's mostly meth that she's using. Nobody visited her because she has stolen, cheated, mistreated, and lied to everyone in her life, so nobody wants anything to do with her. She told me, without any hesitation, how sad she was to have survived. She has no hope for the future, and she looks extremely unhealthy without her makeup. It was painful, and I was devastated just listening to her. I cried a lot. For the sake of my wife, I'm not making excuses for her. She chose to get involved in this damaging stuff, and now she'll have to face the consequences. I'll get back to the details about the guys who assaulted my ex-wife later. Henrietta is facing a list of charges, including making pass-away threats, resisting arrest, possessing medicaments, engaging in prostitution, trafficking medicaments, neglect, driving under the influence, causing property damage, and stealing a vehicle. She's been denied bail due to the risk of her fleeing, and it's likely that she'll be in legal trouble for a while. At least I hope so. Before I continue, I want to express my gratitude to those of you who shared your experiences dealing with dependency. Many of you warned me that my ex might attempt self-misuse now that things are closing in on her, and you were right. She tried to intentionally overdose. I had discussed this possibility with her father, so we decided to keep a close watch on her. Fortunately, she still doesn't know that I have real-time access to her phone. While we were at the cabin on Saturday, I received a message from her that sounded like a pass-away note. She talked about her weakness, prostitution, letting everyone down, and how she felt like she had no other choice. I immediately called her father, and since I could monitor her location, he rushed out to find her unconscious on a park bench. She was taken to the hospital and treated. She was also severely hypothermic. I hate to think about what might have happened if he had arrived just a bit later. She's now on methadone. Her father has been appointed as her legal guardian. She can't object to treatment anymore. Her father had her forcibly admitted to a rehab center, and she will undergo a sedated detox. I'm not sure when, but probably this week. Her father's appointment is not solely due to her overdose, but because she abandoned her children, which apparently indicates she's not thinking rationally as she tries to end her life. That's the legal reasoning. Thankfully, I haven't canceled her life insurance yet, so she will receive treatment. I've offered to help with the financial side as long as my ex isn't aware that it's coming from me. I've been concerned that the men who assaulted my wife might come after me and the kids. Remember that Jack presented chat logs in court which they believed my wife had given him. I talked to Jack about this, and he decided to take care of it since he benefited from the disclosure. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but Jack is a big, imposing guy. He went to the guy's apartment, which was a real dump, by the way. He confronted them and told them that Henrietta had provided him with the chat logs, and since they had misused someone he knew, they had a choice to make. Go to the police and confess everything about the assault, or face the consequences right there, which would involve some painful and permanent injuries if they chose the second option. As he described it to me, he made it clear that he hoped they would go with the first choice. They apparently wasted no time heading to the police. Needless to say, I no longer worry about them. I found a new apartment, and I'll be moving soon. Once again, Bob came through for me. All in all, I'm very downcast. This situation weighs heavily on my mind. What keeps me going is the support of my friends and family, and I know I need to stay strong for the kids. My heart aches for my ex. Despite everything, I don't regret marrying her. I still love her, but I realize we can never be together again. She's not the person she used to be, and there's too much pain between us. Despite all the recent hardships, we had a good life before that. I wouldn't have my children if it weren't for her, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. I know the pain will linger for a long time. Strangely enough, the news of my wife's weakness has made it easier for my kids to understand. It's simpler to explain that Mommy is sick and it will take time for her to get better. She still loves them, and so on. Right now, I'm feeling sad and tired. Jack is here with his kids, and we're going to watch Madagascar 3. I think I'm trying to create as many positive memories as possible. Jack is doing the same, and his kids, along with mine, seem to be doing much better now. I believe we'll be okay. I believe my ex passed away from an overdose while in rehab. We're not sure how she got access to the medicaments, but she must have taken them while inside, and it seems something went terribly wrong. Substance dependency is a real issue, and it's truly heartbreaking. Take support from your family if needed, and focus on taking care of your children. The current situation is distressing, but it will get better. Remember that your children need you more than ever, and your in-laws are going through even greater pain than you. Best of luck, and stay strong.